We are back. Welcome to Get Legit LLC, and today we will be having a discussion on Love and Marriage Huntsville. Unlike my previous videos, where I will do a recap, a review of the blow by blow, what happens in Love and Marriage Huntsville, I decided to do it a bit differently this time. I decided to take a particular story from the season or the episode that I'm looking at and bring whatever lessons I believe there is or whatever information I believe that there could be had from that particular story. And in so doing, I want to welcome you all to Get Legit LLC. This is not legal advice. It is my sunny Caribbean opinion on the legal twist to topics on social media, on reality television, current events, and life events in general. Please support my channel. And for those of you, all 254 of you who have subscribed, thank you. And those of you who haven't as yet, I see you. Please subscribe. Support the channel. The disclaimer for this video is specific. It's not a legal, and it's our legal and our analysis. It's not legal opinion. It is not legal advice. It is not intended to offend anyone. This is Get Legit's LLC's opinions after having reviewed relevant reports. And you might be asking, well, what am I going to talk about? What reports when it comes to Love and Marriage Huntsville? Well, under the Fair Use Act, I'll be looking at some reports coming out of Alabama as it relates to Keke Jabbar. Yes. This week, this video is dedicated to Keke Jabbar, Letitia Scott's cousin. For those of you who haven't done so as yet, please subscribe to the channel. If you like my content, here you can learn a lot of things Alabama and things that are very educational. And for those of you who are not in Alabama, who would like to know what happens in your particular state, put something in the comment and I will be glad to give you a review of what prevails in your particular state. I want to say something that I believe it's going to be unpopular, but I think Carlos King of Kingdom Reign Entertainment, producer of Love and Marriage Huntsville and Belle Collective on Oprah Winfrey Network, is a genius. Yeah, I think he's a genius. And I say that because I think he is serving the community of Huntsville and other communities and the nation, and by extension, the global community, because these shows are watched throughout the world in more ways than one. So you might be asking, what she talk about? What is she talking about? Well, I'm talking about Keke Jabbar. I'm talking about Grace to Keke Jabbar of Love and Marriage Huntsville. You might be asking, well, Grace for what? Well, Keke has owned her truth on this show. Keke has brought a story to us, telling her truth where she is speaking about an addiction that she had as a result of painkillers. And you might be thinking, well, okay, it's a Keke issue. No, it's not a Keke issue. It's a national issue. It's a global issue. And it's something that happens to a person without them even knowing, by virtue of an innocent prescription. Innocent time, a vulnerable time in your life where you need to take prescription medicine. And in so doing, you become a victim of the ailments. I believe that Keke's story on Love and Marriage Huntsville might be one of the biggest indirect community outreach under the state of Alabama action plan for the 7th standing committee, which is community engagement, that exists to fight opioid addiction in conjunction with the community stakeholders. And I say this because I think for Keke to come on a national platform and talk about her addiction and not allowing people to let her feel ashamed of what she has been through, that a lot of people currently are going through, and that a lot of people's loved one has succumbed to, I think it is important, and I think it's something that we need to applaud her for doing, and something that we should also rally behind her and support her, rather than make her feel as though she is some strange person to have gotten vulnerable to this these pills. I think we should show her grace. And in order for us to do that, we need to first understand, what is opioid? What is it all about? So I'll be reading directly from a report that I was able to find from Alabama source at the end, and so you'll be able to see it, okay? So it says, the opioid crisis and is eroding the quality of for Alabama residents. People are dying and families are being devastated. It impacts every sector of our economy, including healthcare, education, business, and local governments. The opioid crisis recognizes no neighborhood, no race, and no class. It is neither limited to back streets in urban settings or isolated in rural communities. From 2006 to 2014 through 2014, there were 5,128 deaths from overdoses in Alabama. The state's death rate per 100,000 in 2014 was 14.9. The number of overdose deaths climbed 82% from 2006 to 2014. In 2016, there were 741 overdose deaths attributed to the increase of 15.3 deaths per 100,000. The overdose deaths are not limited to opioids, but the Center for Disease Control and Prevention has indicated prescription opioids and heroin account for the majority of drug deaths. In 2012, Alabama was first place in the nation per capita opioid prescriptions, with 143.8 prescriptions per 100 residents. While the rate per capita is decreasing each year in Alabama, the state was still the highest per capita opioid prescribing state in 2016, with a rate of 121 prescriptions per 100 persons, which is equivalent to 1.2 prescriptions for every man Far too many individuals who are now addicted to opioids began their journey with the use of physician-prescribed medicines. Once addicted, they are often driven to acquire the drug in any manner necessary, leading to prescription fraud, thefts, and other crimes. Addiction to prescription drugs is not Alabama's only opioid challenge. A resurgence of heroin use, often in combination with fentanyl, along with a growing list of related overdose casualties, has created an opioid problem of epidemic proportions for the state of Alabama. So I want to get into opioids, what it is, and different drugs that is considered under that listing. It says, opioids are strong prescription medications such as Vicodin, Percocet, and Oxycontin. Opioids are chemical cousins for heroin and are highly addictive. 4 in 5 new heroin users started out misusing prescription painkillers. Overdose from heroin and other opioids now kills more than 27,000 people per year. Opioids oversee overdose death epidemic, with 20,101 overdose deaths related to prescription pain relievers and 12,990 overdose deaths related to heroin in 2015 in the United States. In 2016, over 42,000 people in the United States died from overdose deaths. Alabama recorded 324 opioid overdose deaths the same year. Drug overdose now kills more Americans than car crashes. Nearly 30,000 Alabamians, over the age of 17 are estimated to be dependent upon heroin and prescription pain killers. So if you're looking at it, people, it's not something where you wake up one day and you decide, in most cases, it's not where you wake up, you decide, I want to go on drugs. Or it's something that you want to do. It started out innocently. You go to your doctor, you need painkillers, you do a surgery, whatever. You're prescribed these pills, highly addictive. And so while we're looking at Keke Jabbar's, really and truly people, we need to show her grace and be compassionate, because we could be looking at a whole lot of people. And while we have a Keke Jabbar who is now on one of OWN's highest rated show, it could have been a different story. We probably would not have known who this woman is. And so for her, that strength in her to come forward and tell this story, I think it's something remarkable and something that I want to say kudos to Carlos King for. He has not only been bringing us stories that we can relate to in our everyday lives, but he is also bringing awareness to something that the task force in Alabama is saying. It takes community effort. And I see this show as one such limb of that community effort, because it's engaging us in having this discussion. So I want to talk about naloxone. It says it's an opioid antagonist. When an opioid enters the brain, it attaches to neurotransmitters that give the user a hit or a high. Naloxone goes to the same opioid receptors, removes the drugs, and binds to the receptors to block the opioid. If a person is overdosing and stops breathing, administering naloxone can restore normal breathing and save a life. So when I looked at the Alabama site that is there, and that's where I got this information from, they've been looking at how they could deal with this problem that they see on a rise there in Alabama. And so they attack it from different angles. They did through prevention, intervention, treatment. There was also education. But one thing is active community engagement. And it is that aspect of active community engagement that I want to say kudos to Carlos King for, because I believe having that topic on the show, not shying away from it, bringing that discussion to the show, to the forefront, having Keke on the show serves as a way for people to see, hey, you can be in a vulnerable state where you were addicted to these medication by virtue of an innocent encounter with a medical procedure and the need for the painkillers, but you can overcome it. Oftentimes, that's what we've been seeing on Love and Marriage Huntsville, overcoming. We have a Melody seeing what she has gone through, but what we see now, we're seeing her thriving. She's thriving. She's overcoming. Recently, we heard about her custody battle. And while people were of the view that, okay, we would have wanted to see her with all her kids, full custody, in the best interest of the children, nah, I'm happy with what it is. I'm happy that they continue the 50-50, if that is the case, allegedly. And I'm happy that, well, she gets to keep her coins and don't have to share her coins with someone who really and truly has shown us that his intent wasn't to love and protect, but to break her. And then we've seen Kimmie Scott, who has shown us vulnerability as well. But in the face of that great sickness, cancer, she thrived too. She overcome, and she's overcoming it. And I think that, to me, is a real story behind Love and Marriage Huntsville. These three women who stood there in their purpose and owned it and brought it to the nation, so that we can see what it looks like, see what betrayal looks like in Melody, see what getting past betrayal looks like. In Keke, see what being addicted looks like and getting past it and owning her truth. See in Kimmie what sickness looks like and a nurse. Seeing what the importance of being able to diagnose and go to your medical doctors and medical facilities, get yourself diagnosed. That story, I think to me, Carlos King is unique, and he's great. He's a genius to be bringing these things, these topics to us. And I want to, in this video, I have read when talk about the statistics, but I want to show you the numbers from Alabama, so we could appreciate really this sickness and this battle that Keke had been fighting. And the fact for her to come to the forefront and own it and be on a national platform and have us having this discussion is amazing. So let's look at it, and sympathies to all family members. Sympathies and empathy goes out to every family member, those people in the community who are dealing with those people who are still struggling. And in the end of the video, I will show places where they can go and get help, and family members how they can assist if they see them in a vulnerable state. So let's look at these figures. In 2015, of the 736 drug overdose deaths in Alabama, 282 drug overdose deaths were related to opioids. 2016, of the 756 overdose deaths in Alabama, 343 drug overdose deaths were related to opioids. In 2017, of the 835 drug overdose deaths in Alabama, 422, that's 50.54%, drug overdose deaths were related to opioids. 2018, of the 775 drug overdose deaths in Alabama, 381, that's 49.16%, drug overdose deaths were related to opioids. In 2019, of the 768 drug overdose deaths in Alabama, 414, that's 53.91%, drug overdose deaths were related to opioids. In 2020, and this would be the period where we were dealing with the pandemic, of the 1,029 drug overdose deaths in Alabama, 611, that's 59.38% drug overdose deaths were related to opioids. 2021, of the 1,408 overdose deaths in Alabama, 981, which is 69.27% drug overdose deaths were related to opioids. You see why I say Carlos King is a genius for bringing this topic, bringing this woman who was in a vulnerable state, but who now has overcome by the grace of God to us, so we could have this discussion and look at these things. For those persons who are still battling the opioids, any addiction, these are some of the resources that's available to you in Alabama. And I'm sure nationwide there's other resources. And I'm sure there's probably more resources in Alabama. So family members, persons who are watching this video, subscribers, if you know someone who you know is in that vulnerable state, reach out, help. Now, let's get to evaluating the signs and so on. This is what I took directly from one of those websites. And it says, signs of overdose, which often results in death if not treated, include unconscious or inability to wake up, slow or shallow breathing or breathing difficulties such as choking sounds or a gurgling or snoring noise from a person who cannot be awakened, fingernails or lips turning blue or purple. If an opioid overdose is suspected, stimulate the person, call the person's name. If this doesn't bone in the middle of your chest, or rub knuckles on the person's upper lip. If the person responds, assess whether he or she can maintain responsiveness and breathing. Continue to monitor the person, including breathing and alertness, and try to keep the person awake and alert. If the person does not respond, call 911. Provide rescue breathing if the person is not breathing on their own, and administer 1 dose of naloxone. 2, call 911. Can't say it enough. Call 911, call 911 for help, and opioid overdose need immediate medical attention. An essential step is to get someone with medical expertise to see the person as soon as possible. If no emergency medical services, EMS, or other trained personnel is on the scene, activate the 911 emergency system immediately. All you have to say is someone is unresponsive and not breathing. Be sure to give a specific address and your description of your location of the call in 911. Follow the dispatcher's instructions. If appropriate, the 911 operator will instruct you to begin CPR technique based on the rescuer's level of training. And this is the site where I got that information from. People, we have to be our brother's keeper. And so, Carlos King, hats off to you. I thank you for bringing these topics to the forefront. Here where we see Melody Shari bringing her story to the forefront that empowered a lot of us, empowered a lot of women, empowered men as well. And I'm sure people are seeing from the loss, the way Martel has lost his family. I'm sure men are watching that and seeing the downfall of the side chick phenomena. And then Keke, for bringing her vulnerability to us and owned it the way she did, like a boss chick. And Kimmie, her sickness, bringing that to the forefront, having us discussing these things and being alert and aware of them. Carlos, my hat goes out to you. Thank you for bringing these topics to the forefront. Thank you for having us having this discussion so that we could all understand and we could all learn from it. Let's be our brother's keeper. And with that, I end today's broadcasting of Get Legit LLC. And thank you to my new subscribers. Please, if you like my content, please comment, share, hit that like button, and do subscribe. We're trying to grow over here. Thank you.